Kevin, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for carving out the time to chat today.
Thanks for having me.
For those listening, give us some context. Name, where you live, age, and current occupation or business that you're involved in right now.
Sure. Kevin Weinbold. I live in New York City in Harlem. I am 44 and I work kind of in a few different areas. The easiest way is to like a musical direction teaching artist. So it's part arts education, teaching workshops for arts organizations and Broadway shows. And then there's the performance aspect where I work as a piano player, accompanist, music director, conductor.
Man's got some talents over here. Okay, that's beautiful. It's great context for those listening and also for myself. Currently, as of today, what are some of the roadblocks, issues that you're facing most in your life right now that we could shine light on today and hopefully come up with some solutions for you after this call?
Oof. Oh gosh, there's a bunch. I recently learned the term. My therapist a couple weeks ago said that I don't exactly perform well with executive functioning, which is a term I hadn't heard before. But the way she put it is like when I'm doing the work, like when I'm teaching a class or when I'm playing a show, when I'm in the thing that gets me excited, like all the boxes are checked. I'm on fire. I'm in the like right mental place, but getting there is not easy. I'm always like dropping the ball with the prep work, with like getting the word out, with any sort of administration things or like submitting invoices or timesheets, that it's like that side, like I enjoy what I do with like all of the balls in the air, but I do struggle to like everything's last minute, like it's go time and I step on stage and I'm like, well, it'll be what it'll be. And then afterwards I'm like, oh man, if I had like a little more, forethought.
Yes. So what I'm hearing is when you're doing the thing that you love most, all is bliss. But when it comes to some of these other smaller details, which could be the prep, could be the financing stuff, keeping things organized, you start to kind of like not give it the full attention that it needs. So it's these things kind of slip through the cracks, and obviously they're important. So you need to prioritize them. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it's one of those, if there were like a documentary of like what goes into a show, it would be so revealing because it's like when I'm in the moment, it's calm, it's cool, it's collected. I can modify in the moment. So like if I'm teaching a class, nobody's ever going to know I didn't have every minute planned because I'm just improvising. I'm doing the thing. If, I'm playing a concert and I like forget a piece of music because I didn't practice enough, I will fake the hell out of it. And people are like, wow, that was a wild arrangement. I've never heard that song played like that. But leading up to it is like, it's a mess, like.
So let's go from there. Let's reverse engineer. What is stopping you from like following through on the prep work or making sure that things are organized? Like, what is it? Procrastination? Is it limiting beliefs? Is it unclear on what to be doing and when? What do you think is the root cause or issue?
Oof. I would say a lot of it's procrastination because I'll spend all of the time daydreaming of how great the finished product is. But then like the work that it takes
to do it.
Yeah. So and also, I mean, limiting beliefs because there is should I be doing this? Or like, is this going to be the same as the last one? Is it going to be better? Are people going to be interested? Am I competitive? Somebody else did it better.
Yeah.
That in the moment, I don't think that, spotlight, here we go. But leading up to it, there's definitely hesitation around. Like, perfect example, the last I had a big concert a few weeks ago, and it was like a solo concert thing here in the city. And the morning of, I felt totally healthy, but I was like, I'm just going to take a COVID test and hope that I'm an asymptomatic positive. That way it's not my fault for
Mm.
pulling the plug because
You weren't
I'm
feeling
not
it.
ready. I didn't give it my all in the prep. Didn't have COVID. The show was fine, but it wasn't at the level it could have been. Like, I'm not meeting my own or exceeding my own expectations. It's like passable.
Fair. So what I think we need to do is we need to re-engineer your mindset on what I'm hearing is more process focused, result focused rather than process, right? So we all
Yeah.
want to get to the finish line, right? We see the goal line, we see the achievement, we see the being on the stage, the getting the check for X amount of dollars because we completed the project. But that is only going to be possible if we get obsessive with the day-to-day process of working on the thing or doing the thing, right? We want to lose 50 pounds, but we don't want to step foot in the gym today, right? So my thought would be, and my challenge for you would be, we spend 1% of our energy thinking about that finish line, which excites us, it motivates us. Maybe it's a visualization technique for you. When you first wake up in the morning, you close your eyes and you envision like what it's going to be like the day of the show and how everything is going to go according to plan, and you feel it and be in it. But then open your eyes and tell yourself 99% of the rest of my time, energy, and attention today needs to be focused on those small little details that I know are going to make a big impact 2 weeks, 6 months from now on that actual show. So
Oof.
do you feel like in a day to day, like you are kind of like lost on knowing what to prioritize? Do you feel like there's, things that are slipping through the cracks because you're not just doing it? You're unclear on what should be like, this outside perspective. I've never produced a show and I can only imagine the amount of small details, but at some point there's got to be like a clear decision on like today I'm going to focus on these four things, even though I know the to-do list is like 250 deep by the time the show actually comes.
Yeah, that's exactly, because it is the same with like health and fitness. It's not lack of knowledge. Like, we all, have the information that we need to make healthier choices and calories in and calorie out. But like, with that, even whether it's a show, whether it's weight loss, strength training, whatever, it's that idea of I can, visualize here, but then just actually doing the thing,
Yeah.
if it is, I'm, yeah, I'm not good at saying something is better than nothing, like you
Mm,
were saying, like, let's just get these four things done because they have to
yes.
be done. There might be 400 others. I'm like, there's so much, shut down.
Okay. So one thought I want to mindset I want to pass over to you, and I actually literally have a tattoo which says 1%. And the reason I have this is it's this concept of focusing on the 1% growth per day, right? That is inevitably going to build the brick by brick, allow me to build the business, the X thing that I want in my life, right? So I feel like if we can pass that on to you where it's like every day Kevin asks himself, what's the 1% thing or things I can do today? They're going to help set me up for a better tomorrow. And what might be extremely like a peaceful process for you, which I do all the time, is I have all of these ideas running through my mind. So what I do is whether you want to write it physically or open up a digital calendar, or not a calendar, but like Notion or Microsoft Word, I want you to just dump everything that you know that needs to get done. Make them all action items, right? And then what you want to do is take that list and do your best to reorganize based on what is more of a priority and what's something that can wait till later. Because of course, even if that list is 100 deep, there are going to be things that I got to get this done by the end of the week. And there's going to be things where you're like, I probably have to the end of January, maybe even February to do this thing. So then when you have it organized, now you have this second brain that is keeping track of all the things you want to do which means you don't have to get overwhelmed thinking about it and trying to figure out when am I going to do these things. You just go back to that list. And then every day you ask yourself, what are the 1, 2, 3, 4 things today that I can focus on? And yes, it may feel like you're not actually chipping away that much on a day-to-day basis because you're like, well, there goes 4 things done out of the 200, but 4 times 5 days in the week, 20 times 4 weeks in a month. Now we're at 200. Now you can see how quickly like these actually I did the math wrong. 20 in a week, it'd be 4 weeks in a month. So 80 items you'd get done on average. But you can see how that is going to allow you to just consistently create momentum, keep getting things done without that resistance of like, oh crap, I have so much to do. I actually feel like I'm really overwhelmed and I don't know where to start. So the best thing I'm going to do is just not do it because I don't know where to go from here.
Yeah. That's smart. What I haven't tried, and I think what might work for me is like a digital version because I'm great at like the brain dump when I'm like, here's what I need to do. And I always have like notebooks with me in every bag so that when something comes, I like can jot it down. So I, like we all do, have the endless to-do lists, but I've never then reorganized it. I just look at it and there's
Yes.
nothing, the thing on top isn't the most important. It's just the first thing I thought of.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've never gone back to be like, if I do it digitally, to then move things around to be like, oh, now what's on top will chip away, as opposed to like, I just made 2 pages of hurried chicken scratch scribbles. I'm overwhelmed. Shut it. Have a beer.
Well, that's also why I do digital because I can't even read my own chicken scratch. So it's really hard.
Right.
But like what you're saying is another great call of why it's so important to do digital is because depending on the day or just depending on like how things shifts, as we know, life is not perfect. Things come up. There's pivots that need to be made. That item that was number 50 on that list all of a sudden becomes the number 1 priority because of a new deadline. And so it's easy for you to manipulate and pull that to the top rather than crap, I got to rewrite my 200 list because now that 50th item has to be number 1. And then tomorrow that 23rd item is now number 1. Now it's super confusing, but there's something mentally liberating about having this ongoing, what I would call a second brain of just all the things you need to do. And you visit it once a day in the morning. What are the tasks that Kevin needs to prioritize today? And what is going to help you choose if it's one thing, if it's 2, 3, or 4, is you have to be realistic about each item. Like this item, probably going to take me a half an hour, pull this over. This next item, it's going to probably take 2 to 3 hours, pull that over. This next item is going to take 20 minutes. The next item is going to take 3 hours. Okay, boom. There's my 5 things for today because I know realistically, I got maybe 6 to 7 hours of quality work in me, and that's it.
Right.
We set ourselves up for failure by assuming I'm going to get these 10 items done when I know the first 2 items are going to take me half a day to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so how does Kevin feel at the end of the day? He feels unfulfilled, not accomplished because he set himself up for failure by telling himself he's going to get all these things done. He gets 2 of the 10 done, but what would have changed is if he would have went in with that clear lens of understanding the first 2 items are the only things I need to do today because it's realistically going to take up my entire day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely haven't as well even thought of like the time thing. It's just pen to paper lists without like, oh, or I have 10 minutes before my next Zoom. Here's a 5-minute task,
Mm-hmm. Well, see, what you're hitting on right there is that's a great example of I have 10 minutes till my Zoom. So what can I get done quickly, right? Or what's something that you're feeling pressure? You're feeling pressure of like, I have a call in 10 minutes. So like, if I can do anything, let me see what I can get done, right? My challenge for you is how does Kevin create healthy internal pressure throughout his entire day? So even on the days you don't have a call, how does Kevin set himself up for success by telling himself, I want to get this task done by noon. I want to get the second task done by 1:30. And I want to get this third task done by 4 p.m. And even if the task isn't you getting on a call with someone, which is the pressure, you're holding yourself accountable to say, like, I told myself I'm going to get this done, so I'm going to do it. Let me give you an example. When I sit down at 9 a.m., 9:30, I don't forget what time I sat down today to work. I didn't have a call. You're the first call of the day, but I had all of these things that I wanted to get done that I told myself I need to get this done by 11. This has got to be done by 12:30. This one's done by 1, 2, because it's creating that healthy internal pressure for me to get things done. If I didn't do that, I would still be worrying and focus on that first task that I started at 9:30 a.m. And if I feel like I got the whole day until 2 p.m., I'm just going to waste it away and likely get nothing done.
Oof, yeah.
How's that feel?
Good, necessary, and like all of the stuff I don't do. Yeah. I have it. Yeah. I somehow got it in my head that if I just like write it down, like, sure, that's step one, but I think that's where I'm like, I did it. I got it out of my brain onto paper. So it's
Mhm.
tangible. But then what good does another list do?
Totally. Yeah. So I think if you want to break it down into steps, because I'm a big, like, give me steps and I'll do what I need to do to get it done. I think it's a very simple 3-step process for you. One, you write down that list. And maybe this is like a weekly thing you do every Monday because the list will change, right? So Monday, you just write down what are the things you need to get done this week, right? Write down a big list. Boom. That's step one. Step two, just on Mondays, is going to be now, what is it of that list that I need to prioritize today?
Mm-hmm.
Now you're creating what I would say a secondary list. You have your main list with all the things to do this week. Now you have a secondary list for just Monday. Write down those 3 to 5 items. Boom. Cross them off as you go. And the third and final step is just every day of the week, you do that same process. You pull back the list, you write down the priorities for that given day, and you only worry about those things. I'm not worried about the calls that I have tomorrow. I'm only worried about this
Mm,
call that I have with you and the next 2 or 3 things I need to do after this call today.
right. Yes. Even just hearing that removes some of the overwhelm of like, because my gut instinct is like, yeah, but when I do that, nothing gets done. I
Yes.
shut down and I'm like, there's too much to do. I don't know what to do. And then I tell myself, oh, I'm overloaded right now. What's going to help me is if I do something to calm myself down. And then
Mhm.
I'm like, I know, I'm just going to scroll on my phone and like take a break.
Yes. And that's the biggest distraction right there. Once you get into that phone, it's game over.
Your video like punched me in the gut um, of when you wake up, just put your feet on the ground.
Mm,
I was like, oh,
mm.
oh,
So let me ask
that.
you, walk me through your process. You wake up this morning. What's the next 60 seconds of your day, of your life look like?
No, don't call me out. Um, as in what actually happened.
Tell me the truth.
uh, so I woke up unexpected from an Amazon delivery that came before my alarm. So it like jolted me awake, went, pushed the door buzzer, got back in bed, saw the time, and I was like, oh, I don't have to get up yet. Like it's before my alarm. And so I didn't even just go back to sleep. I was like, well, let me just, check in.
Mm.
Um, And then next thing I know, it's 10. And I was like, yeah. Okay, now I have 2 minutes before.
And
Oof.
and what time was that alarm supposed to go off at, or what time did it go off at?
Uh, Today it was going off at 8:30.
Okay.
Um,
So is it fair to say that 90 minutes was pulled into the phone after that alarm went off?
it is 100% fair to say that.
Okay. And now, thank you for the honesty. There's no judgment here. And if you had to be honest, is that something that happens on a consistent basis? It may not be 90 minutes. It might be 10 minutes here, 30 minutes here. What's the commonality?
Yeah, it's specifically on my like work from home days.
Gotcha.
Where it's like yesterday I had to work at a school, so I
Mhm.
wake up and go, and I just do like the roll and go.
Yep.
Um, but then I make up for it at nighttime. So like
Mm-hmm.
yesterday morning, my alarm went off and I was like, shit, I gotta go. And then, so I did. But then last night I was up too late
Mm-hmm.
because I was just like, oh, I wonder if there's anything on Amazon I haven't seen yet recently. And then, like I checked my Oura ring this morning and I got 5.5 hours of sleep
Mm.
for no reason. Like I was home all night. It's not like anything kept me out late except.
We need some phone boundaries for you, my man. That's the next thing we need to discuss immediately.
Oh,
So let me
oh, it
also
makes me like squeamish even hearing that.
no, it's on. But here's the thing: is you're not alone in this. This is a major problem for a lot of people. Like I don't think enough people admit how big of a problem this is. Let me ask you this: at 10 a.m. today, when you realize, okay, it's time to get up, was there any emotionals or any emotion that were running through you that was either disappointed, angry, like that you had spent one, that you had spent 90 minutes on your phone, or two, because of what you consumed and caught up on, did it emotionally impact your day? Either of those questions, does any ring true?
First one, yes. Consumption wise, no. It was just like normal.
Okay.
But yeah, it was that like, oh, I've already wasted an hour and a half, especially when I know that like I'm trying to be an overachiever in certain areas. I'm like, because I have my to-do list and then I also have my like the dreamy to-do list that I was like, oh, if I had a little extra time, I could sit at the piano and learn a new song just for fun. I could like water the plants. I could whatever. Um, but instead, I was like, now it's go time
Mm-hmm.
because somebody was waiting for me to respond to an email that I was supposed to have done an hour before.
Okay.
And yeah, it just felt awful. And it made me feel like I'm already behind and I haven't actually done anything except waste time.
Yes. So we need to continuously remember these emotions and that feeling, because I think what you just said is so important. Is in reality, that 90 minutes, which listen, I'm a big fan of social media. It's how I built my career and my business. Like I'm for but it's all about like choosing your pockets of when you consume. But if we're honest with ourselves, that 90 minutes today robbed you of your own time, from playing the piano, from watering the plants, from maybe just waking up and sitting down and having a cup of coffee and just like allowing your mind and body to wake up, right? So when we overconsume like that, we're robbing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is going to be such a difference for you if there is this urgency that when the phone goes off, like, and you said it, you saw that piece that you wake up and you put your 2 feet on the floor and you tell yourself it's time to start the day. Watch how much differently your day and morning like feels when you're not committing immediately to the phone. Just like the day, even and I think what's most important is you do this on the work from home days. Cause like you said, when you need to be somewhere, you wake up, you roll out, you go. How can you create that same sense of urgency even when you're working from home, and you see it as an opportunity for you to use that time for yourself, either for your own business priorities, or if it's for your own personal priorities, like creating that sense of urgency so that when the alarm goes off, you're just getting up and rolling and going, instead of turn over, grab the phone, start scrolling, which leads to Amazon purchases, to scrolling on social media, all just one major distraction from you just starting off your day on the right foot.
Yeah, I wish I had. Well, even like even just now, like literally, I right before this call, I was like, "Oh crap, it's a video call. I have to make my bed."
Mm,
But like I should have, and even as I was making it, I like how it looks when it's clean. Like I obviously chose the comforter because I like the color. They're things that make me feel good when I see them. So as I was making the bed, I was like, "Oh, this feels good."
mm,
Why? It was 2:45 p.m. that I made the bed
mm.
and I've been home all day. But yeah, I don't give myself the same priority, urgency, respect, whatever you want to call it, that I do other people. Like if somebody asks me to show up at this thing, I am ready. I'm never late. I'm early. And then when it's myself, there's that integrity's not there.
So ready for the full circle moment of how this goes right back to where this conversation started? No, good way. In a good way. I saw,
Okay.
the hesitancy. This is great, Kevin. This is what this conversation is for. So this is exactly what needs to happen. We started this call off with you sharing that you're not disappointed, but like you recognize that like sometimes the small details fall through the cracks with work. You're not preparing right. My question, you don't have to have the answer, is we have to ask ourselves is how can I expect myself to show up in my professional life and catch the small details when I'm letting the small details in my personal life slip under the radar, aka waking up and just making the bed or getting up on time instead of scrolling, right? So I think we need to focus on starting within you and making you bulletproof from following through on what you said you wanted to do or doing the small little habits that nobody's paying attention to or going to see, like making the bed on time every day when you wake up, because what that's going to do is create momentum. It's going to build confidence within you. It's going to get you in this mind state and flow where like the small details matter. I make the bed first thing in the morning. I get up when that alarm goes off, I go. Those little things are going to completely shift your identity. And when you change the identity within, it's also going to roll out into everything else that you do around you. So, two thoughts I have for you is one, start slow, but I would love to challenge you and say for the first 30 minutes of every day when your alarm goes off, do not look at your cell phone.
Okay.
You can turn the alarm off if you have a phone alarm. And if you're going to check your phone, it's to quickly look at your texts and make sure there are no emergencies. I don't care if there are 100 texts waiting for your response. As long as there are no emergencies, you don't respond.
Right.
You do this, Kevin, because you need to prioritize yourself first before the rest of the world. And if you don't, the world is going to pull you in every direction. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You prioritize yourself for the first 30 minutes of the day. You do whatever you want. You get out of bed when the alarm goes off. And then second thing right after you get out of bed is that little discipline to I'm going to make the bed. You hear people talk about making a bed. How's it going to change my life? It's the act of following through on something so small, but it's creating that momentum for the day. It's that first checkbox that's like, okay, the day has begun. One, Kevin got up at the time the alarm went off, checkbox. Kevin made his bed after he got out of bed, checkbox. Kevin went for a walk because he wanted to go for a walk to wake himself up for 20 minutes, checkbox. How can all these things that you tell yourself you want to do and fall through on, those are all mental check boxes. And maybe that's something you need to do is start physically writing them down for your own personal life before you even get to the business stuff. How does Kevin fill his cup up first before anyone else and see how much differently that helps you move through the day, but then also shows up professionally in your work.
Yeah.
I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but just give me your honest gut reaction or feelings or what's going through your head.
What you said about how do I fill my own cup up first, because I don't. Um,
Why not?
yeah, I don't know. Um,
Do you want to show up to the world as the best version of you every day?
I do.
Do you think that would impact not only your personal life but also your business life?
For sure.
Then what would stop you from doing that on a daily basis? I know the answer. I'm curious what you think the answer is.
Hmm.
What would
I don't
stop
know.
you from filling your cup up first on a daily basis?
That's a good question, because all I'm thinking about is I don't want to say there's something more tangible when it's for somebody else, but to me, it's a non-negotiable, but it shouldn't be that for myself. Like, it should be the same. And I don't get why that's not.
You need to create those same, whether it's a routines or habits in the morning that you feel like are going to help you feel your best self or fill your cup up. Those need to become non-negotiables. Those need to become autopilot. The same way you brush your teeth in the morning before you start your day or before you leave, those non-negotiables need to become that frictionless. You don't ask yourself, does Kevin want to brush his teeth today? I don't know if I want to do it. You just do. It's second nature to you. Same thing with waking up on time, making the bed. The more consistent you do those things, the easier it is going to become a non-negotiable and become autopilot, that it literally will become your identity, and you will dissociate yourself from the old version that might have scrolled on his phone for 90 minutes or chooses not to make the bed. It's the act of doing through that consistency that it's going to become your identity.
That's what I want.
So these are the action items for you after this call. 1, I want you to go through that process of creating the to-do list on a daily basis. I think a great way to start that would be just every Monday, brain dump all the things that you can think of that need to get done in the week ahead. And then every day, just looking at that list and being realistic about, okay, what do the priorities look like? What can I truly get done in this given day based on how much time I have or based on how long each item is going to take? Go through that process every day. Keep track of it. 2 is following through on getting up at that consistent time, right? And that's more important for the days like you mentioned when you're working from home. It's not the days you have to be somewhere. It's creating that healthy internal pressure from the days that you're working from home that you need to get up at that certain time. And then right after that is going to be making sure that 1, you are making the bed, and then 2, making sure that you are filling your cup up first. That's up to you on how you would, what you want that to look like. If it's going for a morning walk, if it's just having a cup of coffee, if it's a morning meditation, it does not matter. It could be listening to your favorite tunes and dancing in your room. Like it's up to you, but identify what are those things that are going to help you feel your best self for the day ahead and prioritize it first thing. And I promise you that by the time you go to check your phone, answer texts, emails, you are going to feel so much more alive, energized, clearer, inspired, motivated because you prioritize yourself first. When I sat down today at 9:30 a.m., I was fired up, Kevin, because for the first 2.5 hours of my day, I was prioritizing myself. I walked the dogs. I did journaling. I did some brain games. I then got a workout. I had my cup of coffee. I'm ready to go when I sit down at 9:30. And if I didn't prioritize myself first, I wouldn't have that inspiration and motivation to just lock in on the work. So test and try, see how differently you feel when you finally sit down to do the work. And I guarantee you it is going to have a tremendous ripple effect on how you show up in the day, how you feel about yourself. And then all those small details that might slip under the radar, they might start to be easier for you to maintain and to keep your eye out for.
Will do.
How do you feel? How's this conversation been for you?
Good. Really good.
You feel clear? Do you feel like you have some good deliverables from this conversation? Was this helpful?
Yeah, I've got notes and notes and notes, and yeah, it feels attainable, which I like, as opposed to like, again, I feel like I've gotten a lot of to-do list of like, this is the first month, 2, 3, 4, and blah, 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 as opposed to like bite size, like do this, start with this and see where that goes. I like that.
Yes. What I want you to do is I want you to write down, sorry if you can hear the dogs barking. I want you to write down, I know you're taking notes. At the very top, I want you to write 1% growth because I think that needs to be the mindset for you. It's so easy for us to have this conversation and like, all right, we're just going to make things happen. But doing the work is the hardest part. It's where there's resistance. There's no one to be there to hold you accountable. But just remind yourself in those moments when you have the self-doubt or you're not feeling motivated. Remember, Kevin, it's 1% growth per day. You got to write that down somewhere, put it against the wall, or just revisit it. But just keep telling yourself 1% growth per day, 1% growth per day.
Will do.
All right, brother. Well, thank you for taking the time. I'm going to be rooting for you, and I want to hear a 30-day update after you get this process rocking and rolling.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
You got it, brother.